Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is What a Ghoul Wants, and my name is Anna if you're new here. Today I'm going to be holding my microphone. I don't normally do that, so we're going to see how it goes. So please bear with me if it sounds kind of different for some reason. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about 10 horror movies to get you in the mood for fall. So I don't know about you, but I feel like myself and a lot of horror fans are always in the mood for fall. We always want it to be spooky season. But right now it is still August as of this recording. It's about to be September, and where I live, it is still really muggy and hot outside. So I have just been craving that cool autumn weather even more than ever right now. So with it being kind of on the cusp of fall, I wanted to create this list to get us even more in the mood for that good autumn weather and everything that comes with it. So that's why I made this list. And I did want to say that a little caveat to it is that there are not going to be any movies on this list that are set on Halloween. Now, I made this very specific decision because I wanted it to be more of a lead up to the holiday. So sort of ushering out summer, ushering in fall, and getting ready for the lead up to Halloween. So not quite there yet. So you won't see on this list anything like Halloween or Trick or Treat, things like that. Even a movie like Ginger Snaps, which I feel like falls really well into this category of autumn horror movies, but there are scenes of that are set on Halloween, so I didn't include it. So I chose movies essentially where you can feel a chill in the air. The characters are wearing, cozy knit sweaters and jackets and hats and things like that. And you can see the leaves changing in the settings of these movies. So it's not quite Halloween in them, or it is post-Halloween but pre-winter. So that was kind of the basis for why I chose the movies on this list. So without further ado, we're going to lead right into it, and here are my 10 autumnal horror movies to get you in the mood for fall. And the first of which on this list is The Stepfather from 1987. After murdering his entire family, a man marries a widow with a teenage daughter in another town and prepares to do it all over again. The Stepfather was filmed in October in Vancouver, BC, Canada. So for the setting, we have a super picturesque North American suburban neighborhood, complete with manicured lawns surrounded by fall foliage. This movie is full of cozy 80s sweaters, sweatshirts, jackets, and flannels. It was the first movie that came to mind when I was creating this list, and I think that's a testament to how the season is woven into the story and is an essential part of its presentation. Plus, I feel it's a pretty underrated horror movie, so please check it out if you haven't seen it yet. So I have yet to see the remake for this movie, and I am very curious to know if it has similar fall vibes to it. So if you have seen the remake to The Stepfather, it's from the early 2000s. I can't remember exactly what year. I want to say 2009. But yeah, if you've seen it and it does have a sort of autumnal feel to it, please let me know in the comments, and I'll probably watch it regardless, but it would be nice if it also had some good fall vibes to it. Speaking of the early 2000s, the next movie on this list is House of the Devil from 2009. In 1983, financially struggling college student Samantha Hughes takes a strange babysitting job that coincides with a full lunar eclipse. She slowly realizes her clients harbor a terrifying secret, putting her life in mortal danger. House of the Devil was shot in Connecticut, and it appears to take place several weeks into the fall semester at protagonist Samantha's college. I feel like in this part of the country, especially right on the coast, they really get to experience fall weather in all its glory. It is clearly a brisk autumn as we see the characters are wearing 80s style scarves, hats, and coats, and the detail of the events of the film occurring during a lunar eclipse makes it an extra spooky autumn. Director Ty West is great at establishing mood and atmosphere, and House of the Devil is a shining example of that. And fans of the Barbie movie will be psyched to see that Samantha's friend Megan is played by the one and only Greta Gerwig. This is kind of unrelated, but I did just see Insidious Chapter 2 for the first time, And Jocelyn Donahue, who plays Samantha in House of the Devil, also plays young Lorraine in that film. And I just wanted to say that she is a really good actor, and I've seen that she does act in quite a few horror things. I think she's in Doctor Sleep, which I still haven't seen. So I really need to seek out more of her work because I really enjoyed her. She is a really good actress. The next movie on this list is going to be The Changeling from 1980. After the death of his wife and daughter in a car crash, John Russell, a music professor staying at a long vacant Seattle mansion, is dragged into a decades-old mystery by an inexplicable presence in the mansion's attic. Set in Seattle but mostly filmed in Canada, The Changeling starts out in winter, but the bulk of the story takes place in the fall, where we're with protagonist John in his huge, drafty house with all of this dark, warm wood as the interior, and with a dense forest surrounding it. For some reason, settings with old Victorian houses really scream fall to me, and nothing makes you feel a chill in the air quite like a nice, classic ghost story, and a spooky, cobweb-filled attic is the icing on the autumnal cake. This film is filled with lots of browns, reds, and oranges, and George C. Scott's wardrobe is peak professorial fall fashion. So fun fact about this movie, apparently the big house where this whole thing is shot, the whole outside is actually a facade that they made for the film. I think it was like $200,000 to have this facade put on a more modern house that was in Vancouver because they wanted a very specific look for it. And so, yeah, the whole outside, I guess, is not really the house. And then the inside is a series of connected sets that were in a film studio in Vancouver. So, yeah. The more you know. Okay, next up we have The Evil Dead from 1981. 5 friends travel to a cabin in the woods where they unknowingly release flesh-possessing demons. Because it is set deep in the woods, this cult classic 80s horror is practically brimming with fog, and we get these iconic shots as the camera flies through the surrounding forest, which really showcases how the ground is totally covered with fallen leaves. Our fated gang of kids are all bundled up in their coats and sweaters as they take their scenic ride to the cabin. You can practically smell the musty wood of the cabin walls when they arrive, and they get a nice fire going to warm the place up. It truly does seem like the perfect autumn getaway at first, but Deadites are real party poopers, aren't they? Of course, you could sub this out for Evil Dead 2, and by all means, if you want to, go for it. I just kind of thought that the first one had a little bit more of a fall autumn feel to it for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because we get a little bit more shots of like the forest with the leaves on the ground or something like that. I can't quite pinpoint it, but that's why I chose the original, but you could absolutely sub Evil Dead 2 for this one. Coming in at number 5 on this list is Creep from 2014. A young photographer named Aaron answers an online ad for a one-day job in a remote town to record the last messages of Joseph, a dying man. When he notices Joseph's odd behavior, he starts to question his intentions. Yet again, our setting is a house nestled into the woods that looks like the perfect place to spend a weekend in autumn, minus the, for lack of a better word, creepiness that Joseph brings to the table. In the film, we see Aaron and Joseph walk through the nearby forest, and it looks like a nice fall hike, if Joseph weren't being so weird, that is. I can't get over his cute little fuzzy hat that he wears to stay warm, though. And I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't seen it yet, but the end of the movie is set in this lovely location by the water where we can see the autumnal outdoors in all its glory. This will not be the only found footage movie on this list, and with that hint, you can probably guess what that movie will be. But we'll get to that when we come to it. So I just wanted to say that I did want to have a bit of a variety on this list as far as types of movies, subject matter, but also from different time periods. Although you will see there are a decent amount of movies from the 80s on this list. And I don't know if that's just because the 80s are really nostalgic, and for me, fall is really tied to nostalgia, so maybe that's why I chose a decent amount of 80s horror for this list. But speaking of the 80s, the next film on this list is Fright Night from 1985. A teenager believes that the newcomer in his neighborhood is a vampire. He turns to an actor in a television horror show for help to deal with the undead. Much of this movie takes place at night with a chilly atmosphere and wind blowing through the trees, and we get another old Victorian house to really set the mood for fall. The color color palette is also very warm and rich, and as far as the clothing goes, everyone is in great fall attire, but especially Jerry. Every single one of his chunky knit sweaters look like they're straight from the fall collection of an 80s fashion catalog. It all just makes me want to grab a cup of hot apple cider, turn on my CRT TV, and watch Peter Vincent present Fright Night Theater and slay some vamps. This is another one that I have not seen the remake to, so if you have seen it and you think that it would also go well on this list, please let me know. Also, just let me know if you liked it in general. I heard it was pretty polarizing, so I would be interested to see what everybody thinks about it. So I'll probably watch that eventually, but the next up on this list is going to be The Witch from 2015. A family in 1630s New England is torn apart by the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession. This is one of the most recent films on this list by release date, but is set the furthest back in time. Instead of having warmer tones like many of the other movies on this list, the color grading of The Witch is much more muted and subdued, giving it a very moody fall atmosphere. It is a Robert Eggers joint, so of course everything is extremely period accurate, and it's cool to see what people would wear during this time of year in the 1600s. And nothing says fall like a nice bonfire, right? Although instead of the taste of butter and a pretty dress, I think I'd choose the taste of pumpkin spice and a pretty wool sweater in order to live deliciously. Something that I noticed is that I don't really have any other period pieces on this list. I mean, I guess you could include House of the Devil since it was filmed in, the early 2000s, but it was set in the 80s, so technically that is a period piece, but I'm thinking of things that are, from the early 1900s or even, further back as period pieces. So if you know of any other period piece horror films that would qualify on this list, definitely let me know. I would love to seek out more of those. The next movie on this list is definitely from modern times, and that is The Ritual from 2017. Four friends take a hiking trip to a Swedish forest and encounter an ancient evil. This is the only film on this list that isn't set in America, and although the events take place in Sweden, it was actually shot on location in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. It is yet another movie where we get a ton of footage in the woods, which I'm sure you're noticing is a definite theme for this list. And whether we're seeing the trees from above or we're with the guys in the heart of the forest, it looks like prime chilly fall weather there. And as much as I love movies like Midsommar, there's just something about a folk horror set in autumn that really gets my blood pumping. As you've seen, I've been asking for recommendations pretty much throughout this whole list, but again, because this was the only one that was not set in the United States, I realized that I need to seek out more foreign fall horror, and I know that depending on where you are in the world, the seasons are going to look a little bit different depending on the area, the country, whatever. So I would still really love to know if you know of any other really good foreign horror movies that have a nice fall setting. Please definitely let me know. All right, at number 9, we have that other found footage film, and you probably guessed it, but it is The Blair Witch Project from 1999. 3 film students vanish after traveling into a Maryland forest to film a documentary on the local Blair Witch legend, leaving only their footage behind. This groundbreaking found footage film is set in Maryland in October, and like I said earlier, there's just something about that time of year in the American Northeast that just feels like quintessential fall. And of course, we all know it is yet another film that takes place in the woods, so we get plenty of fallen leaves and partially bare trees for the majority of the runtime. And the students are clad in some great 90s fall attire, like jean jackets, grungy flannels, and knit beanies. It is undeniably an autumnal horror movie at its core. I know I was saying earlier that the 80s is super nostalgic, but being a 90s kid, I really do have a soft spot for the 90s, and the fashion in this especially just gives me such good nostalgia for that era, and for some reason, it just really hits differently, fall fashion from the 90s, so this is one that I appreciate for many reasons, that being one of them, but can't deny it's a great autumnal horror movie. And finally, at number 10, we have Children of the Corn from 1984. A young couple is trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believes that everyone over age 18 must be killed. This movie brings a whole new meaning to Christian girl autumn. With Children of the Corn, we are finally moving away from the autumnal forest as a setting, and we move to fall in the Midwest, which is the part of the country I grew up in, so I have a lot of nostalgia associated with this sort of rural landscape that features corn as far as the eye can see. It takes place in Nebraska, and this setting conjures up recollections of harvest festivals and corn mazes, hay rides, and picking pumpkins, but like in a scary way, you know? It definitely makes you look at something as innocuous as a field ripe with corn a little bit differently. All right, there you have it. That is my list of 10 autumnal horror movies to get you in the mood for fall. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and if you have any suggestions for horror movies that you think would fit on this list that I didn't mention, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. I would really love to seek out more autumnal horror movies. I just really love the setting, and it's really getting me into spooky season, getting me pumped for Halloween and all of that. And I would really love to know too just what you like about fall in general, some things that aren't horror movie related, activities you like to do, just aspects about the season that you really enjoy. Please let me know. Like I said, I just love that crisp, cool fall weather, and I'm so craving it right now. And I have not gotten my first pumpkin spice latte of the season yet, but I will be doing that very soon. I know I haven't been pumping out content by any means lately. It's been a little slow going on the channel, as you've probably noticed if you are a subscriber, but just thanks for sticking with me, and I will keep doing this as long as I still am finding enjoyment from it. And right now it's just been a little more slow going, but so it goes. Things come in waves. Sometimes I'll get hit with some inspiration and I'll want to really be making a lot of videos. Other times I'll just need to chill. So I just really thank everybody for sticking with me through this slower time. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Again, like I said, you all are awesome. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we'll talk horror next time.